This is Infinity, and today I'll show you the world's most unusual and rare phenomena, some of which have only happened once in history. So be all eyes so you won't miss anything. Some phenomena are so rare that it's hard to catch them on camera, especially when it comes to jellyfish lightning, also known as sprites. Soda has nothing to do with it. Sprites are bright flashes caused by electrical discharges at heights of 31 to 62 miles. The phenomenon itself is very beautiful, but incredibly rare. In addition, it's almost impossible to see it with the naked eye, and it's possible to catch it only with the help of special advanced equipment. So in 2020, a scientist was able to capture a unique jellyfish-shaped sprite from a ridge on a mountain. He took some of the rarest pictures since 1924, when the phenomena was predicted in theory. The special technique took many frames per second because the sprites hang in the sky for no more than 100 milliseconds. Sprites appear in tenths of a second after a very powerful lightning strike. So the scientist had to try to catch the phenomenon on camera. By the way, the scientist himself captured a phenomenon that may have happened only once in history because the sprite he photographed was abnormally large. Ice circles. Ice circles may not be as difficult to photograph as jellyfish lightning, but they're no less rare. This phenomenon does not occur very often. Actually, the name makes sense. Ice disks or ice circles are circles of large disks of ice that slowly rotate in the water, usually in a river. Scientists don't know exactly how ice circles arise, but they're thought to form in eddies where plates of thin ice rotate and gradually freeze together. The diameter of the circles varies greatly. Sometimes it can be as small as a few centimeters, and sometimes it grows to several hundred meters. And in some cases, entire collections of ice disks of small diameter accumulate in freezing lakes and streams. Such a picturesque sight is called ice pans. By the way, the phenomenon itself, though very rare, is found in countries with cold climates, usually in Scandinavia and North America. Now you know where to go to see such circles with your own eyes. Frozen bubbles. There's another amazing phenomenon in North America that you're unlikely to find anywhere else. You can come across a lot of lakes in Canada, but Lake Abraham stands out among them all. To be exact, it's not even a lake, but a reservoir created during the construction of a dam. In summer, the lake seems normal, but when it freezes in winter and ice forms, amazing bubbles accumulate under the lake. From the outside, they even appear to be something otherworldly, as if hundreds of flying saucers had fallen into the water and frozen. Or it seems as though they're ancient jellyfish captured in the cold ice. But in fact, they're methane bubbles that freeze under the water. They appear when dry leaves, grass, and animals once in the water sink and become food for methane-producing bacteria. The gas is released as bubbles that turn into tens of thousands of white ice disks when they come into contact with frozen water. It's fascinating, but potentially dangerous, because methane is a flammable gas. In spring, the ice begins to melt, and the methane bubbles burst and fizzle as they escape their ice captivity. If anyone lights a match nearby at that moment, the whole mass of methane ignites and causes a monstrous explosion. Unusual mirage. The mirage itself is quite a normal phenomenon, because the nature of mirages has long been scientifically proven. And yet, this phenomenon is capable of shocking even a person with a strong psyche. No wonder that mirages are still attributed a mystical meaning, although in fact it's only a deception of vision and a special optical effect which is achieved by changing the density of heated air vertically. When certain conditions coincide, visions on the horizon appear. But the mirage has special forms. For example, a fata morgana. This phenomenon is extremely rare and an interesting optical illusion. Distant objects are seen repeatedly and with a variety of distortions. In essence, a fata morgana includes several forms of mirages that are constantly distorted and quickly replace each other. This creates bizarre pictures that can drive anyone crazy. By the way, this has happened before. History knows the case where several people at once saw the rarest fata morgana in the form of people's shadows falling from the sky. Scientists still can't explain this unique case. Speaking of the sky, one of the most unusual phenomena associated with the sky is the gap. Generally speaking, a gap is a hole, and in the case of the sky, the same thing happens. It's as if a huge hole appears in the sky. It's as if someone's opening a portal. Because of its rarity and unique appearance, the gap is often mistaken for unidentified flying objects. or it's believed that the appearance of the gap means the imminent arrival of aliens. In fact, UFOs are out of the question. As a rule, gaps in the clouds are formed by airplanes. The clouds are supercooled, that is, they contain water in liquid form, despite the fact that the temperature is below zero. Water is able to stay in this state for a long time if nothing disturbs it, otherwise it'll turn to ice. A plane flying through the cloud is more than enough to cause freezing, after which the ice crystals fall off, leaving a hole. Then, as a result of physical processes, the hole, which is initially small, begins to expand and can eventually reach tens of kilometers in diameter. Polar stratospheric clouds. Polar stratospheric clouds are another amazing sky phenomenon. In some ways, they're similar to auroras, but this is a separate phenomenon. Polar stratospheric clouds are characterized by an unusual bright iridescent coloration. They shimmer with all the colors of the rainbow, like pearl. They're formed in the lower stratosphere in the winter and spring, and mostly in the polar latitudes at anomalously low temperatures. So they do have something in common with an aurora. Both phenomena can be observed in the same places. But to be more specific, polar stratospheric clouds are mainly common in Antarctica, but are also observed in the Arctic, Scotland, Scandinavia, Alaska, Canada, and northern Russia. By the way, these clouds are not just beautiful and unusual, but also play an important role in terms of science. The increased interest in polar stratospheric clouds is related to their influence on the formation of ozone holes in the polar regions, mainly in Antarctica. While polar stratospheric clouds look very cool, to me, devil clouds are visually more beautiful. It's not only one of the rarest phenomena on the planet, but also one of the newest. Scientifically, devil clouds were recognized as a separate species only a few years ago. Actually, scientifically, they're called undulatus asperatus, but the unofficial devil name suits them much better. They look majestic and very menacing. Undulatus asperatus can take on creepy forms of monsters, devil faces, and other frightening figures. In addition, these clouds are accompanied by a glow or play of sunlight, which gives the picture additional tragic element. It seems as if the sky is about to burst and fireballs, meteorites, and mysterious entities will fly from above. However, despite their frightening appearance, the clouds themselves are not dangerous. These clouds are not even accompanied by hurricanes or thunderstorms. Although there are exceptions, in some cases, rain or tropical downpours may follow the appearance of this type of cloud. This leaves scientists stumped. They don't understand exactly how this complex and rare phenomenon works. For about 10 years, devil clouds remain the most understudied of all other cloud types. Desert rose. Okay, let's leave the clouds alone for a while and take a look at the desert. We think of the desert as dry, hot, sandy, and almost devoid of vegetation. But it turns out that you can find roses in the desert. No, these are not the roses you can buy in a flower store. I'm talking about an interesting and rare phenomenon. Despite its name, the desert rose is not a flower, but a mineral that only resembles a flower. Such unusual formations can be found in many African, West Asian, Middle Eastern, and even European deserts. Desert roses can also be found in remote and arid regions of Australia, Mexico, and the United States. Moreover, the shape of desert roses depend on the region. In shallow areas, the minerals will be amber in color with tiny petals, while in the deeper layers, the roses will take on a yellow color or become colorless. The crystals in this case are larger. Desert roses are often found on salt marshes, which combine crystals of sand, salt, and gypsum. They form when water evaporates and are often prism-shaped and grow to hefty size. The crystals are influenced by erosion, salt, sand, and other elements in the desert that give them a petal shape. This is how desert mineral flowers are formed. Fire rainbow. Despite the name, the fire rainbow has nothing to do with fire or rainbows, although outwardly it does appear that the sky is literally on fire. A fire rainbow is a large phenomenon that's a type of halo in the sky. It's a horizontal rainbow against a background of light and high, feathery clouds. The rarity of the phenomenon is explained by the fact that its emergence needs a few certain conditions. The sun must be above 58 degrees above the horizon, and there must be cirrus clouds in the sky. The rarity of the phenomenon is also due to the fact that the flat, hexagonal ice crystals in the cloud must be oriented horizontally to refract the sun's rays. Bore. If you look at the mechanism of such a phenomenon as bore, it may seem that we're talking about a common tsunami. However, these are different things. Bore is an abnormally high tidal wave. It forms when huge masses of waters enter a narrow riverbed. Once in the narrow estuary, the waters concentrate, forming a powerful wavefront. The wave picks up tremendous speed and crashes into the shore. Unlike a tsunami, the water doesn't go inland, so these phenomena are still different. The most unusual and unique bores are formed in China. For example, in the river Fuxinjiang, you can observe the highest bores in the world. The wave height can reach 29.5 feet, and the rolling speed is about 25 miles per hour. Although such tidal waves look epic, they pose a threat to navigation as they move at high speeds and have considerable energy. However, this doesn't embarrass surfers who often take advantage of the moment and catch the beautiful tidal waves. Caño Cristales. And finally, not so much a phenomenon as a phenomenal river. The 62-mile-long Caño Cristales flows in Colombia. In Spanish, the name means crystal river, and there's some truth to it. Like a crystal, Caño Cristales shimmers and transforms in color. The waters of Caño Cristales can be very different. This incredible palette is due to the algae, mosses, sand, and sky. Each of these elements gives the river a different color. For example, algae give Caño Cristales a red or green hue, and the moss and sand give it a yellow hue. Depending on the conditions, the river looks different, which makes it unique. However, it's not like this all year round, but only during the dry season from June to November. That's all, guys. What's the most unusual natural phenomenon you've seen in person? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you later.